Hi, you are watching.
This story follows a man who gets transported into a game he was playing and reincarnated into a god named Nebula. However, he's not alone in this divine realm, as there were 27 other gods, and they have to fight to become the sole ruler of the planet and reshape it according to their vision. But before they start, each of them was given a small area to control, and to Nebula's disappointment, his area is the insect world, notorious for its low success rate in the game. But because Nebula was a smart ass, he had used his brain to turn around his circumstance. And with this, he had found a suitable tribe that is compatible with his ability, and so he immediately influenced them by showing them miracles. And luckily for him, a lizardman named Rakrak was insightful enough to realize what his intentions were. And so Nebula was able to level up his abilities and evolve this lizardman's civilization quite easily, and therefore they were able to conquer another tribe, a crucial step for Nebula to progress the lizardman's civilization even faster. But this also led to a new problem the lizardmen have to face. With their number increased in one night, their resources were bound to deplete at a much faster rate. But since Rakrak was insightful, he instantly knew that their god wanted them to leave the sanctuary and find a larger and more resource-rich area. Now on to the next part. The next day had arrived. Rakrak's tribesmen is trying to tame the little drake monster. However, it seems like they were having a hard time at it. They even tried to convince it by telling that its master is dead, so it should just submit. But expectedly, with this foolishness of theirs, the drake whipped its tail to retaliate, almost hitting one of the lizard dude, and initially they stood their ground, but it quickly became clear that the drake was not taking them seriously, as it tried to be cheeky and launched itself to them. Luckily for them, the beast was tied to a tree. Still, they knew that if they prolong this further, the beast will just get away. And for that, they loudly asked it if it really want to get scolded, because they will do just that if it keeps this up. However, the situation shifted dramatically with Rakrak's arrival. The drake, vividly recalling Rakrak's previous actions, instinctively retreated. Contrary to its expectations, Rakrak approached with a calm demeanor, offering the drake something. Even the drake was shocked to see the guy who can just kill him in an instant would be this gentle, and so little by little the drake accepted Rakrak's offer. Even the others were in shock to see the fierce drake to immediately change to a more domesticated stance. It has even extended its head for Rakrak to pat as if it was asking for more. With this, Rakrak gave it more as a reward for being well-behaved, which the creature accepted without hesitation. And this gesture of Rakrak stemmed from a belief that there must be a significant reason for the god to spare the drake's life. And with this, the drake looked at Rakrak in a different light, and was now comfortable with Rakrak that it even tried to ask for more. And seeing this change, Rakrak playfully teased to give more. But unfortunately, he revealed that he couldn't, because if he did just that, their food supply will deplete, leaving them with nothing left to eat. And if it really wants them to be together in the future, it needs to be patient. Surprisingly, the little drake named Manan had understood Rakrak's policy, and so it just lie and wait for another treat to come. With this, Rakrak's job here was done, and so he prepared to depart. However, before leaving, he turned to his subordinates with a final instruction. He emphasized that if Manun caused any further trouble, they were to inform him without delay, which they understood. Then, a few moments had passed. Rakrak was now meeting with his other tribesmen, and he is inspecting a well-crafted blade made by one of them, which impressed him, so it led him to ask the guy if he is able to replicate this quality again, to which he proudly claims that he can. Every time for that matter, and if it weren't for their previous leader's stubbornness, he would have made better blades a long time ago. This piqued Rakrak's interest, and so he asks the man the reason why their leader opposed to making such a well-crafted item. In response, the man explained that it was because of the trees. In the process of making this blade, they have to use a lot of wood. Rakrak, initially clueless about crafting weapons, he asks if this was made under the heat of a bonfire, to which the man clarified that it isn't, and that they have to burn the wood first to make the special fuel needed to make these things. With that clarified, Rakrak now knows that making these weapons are costly. Still, he isn't willing to be like the previous leader, who is afraid of change and just outright refuse a great opportunity for their tribe. So he told the man, who is full of scars, to wait tomorrow, as he needed to further think of this before making a decision, which the man understood quite well, and so he left in silence. After that, a lizard with a single arm comes in, and it seems like he was here since he heard Rakrak is looking for a guide. Without a doubt, on Rakrak's mind, he must be a wanderer, to which the guy confirmed, and he had been wandering from quite some time, hopping from place to place in the hopes of finding a place that he could call home, and because of this, he learned to see the way, a path that leads to a land that won't let them go hungry. He have a few places in mind. However, he can't guarantee whether it will still be the same. This intrigued Rakrak, so he asked if other tribesmen and wanderers can be located in there as well. to which the guy confirmed. So if that's the case, there is no reason for them not to go there, and if the inhabitants of that place are against them, all they have to do is defeat them and take over the lands, which the guy agreed that it is a sound decision, and if that's his will, he should follow it without hesitation. Now that was settled. Rakrak asked the guy, how can he give him faith in his abilities? Which shocked the guy as this was the first time a leader took interest in learning his ability. In turn, he immediately pointed up above and told them that his answer always come from them, which Rakrak initially thought the guy was talking about the sky, which the guy corrected, that it's not just the sky, but a sky full of stars. And with that, they waited for a few hours to pass so that the wanderer could explain in detail what he meant. And as night fell, Rakrak looked up at the stars, and because this was his first time intently observing them, his curiosity piqued, leading him to ask the wanderer if the stars were moving, to which the wanderer responded that it could be possible, but he isn't entirely sure, as he haven't fully grasped the rules governing the skies above them. But he had set some rules that he must follow, because if one knows the path of the stars to take, one could follow the path of man without being confused. And since Rakrak doesn't know how to do that just yet, Wanderer will tell him the way of the stars this instant, and if they practice this for a few days, he will gain faith in this ability. With that, the Wanderer began to impart his knowledge about the vast universe surrounding them, and after spending some time in this enlightening exchange, the Wanderer concluded his lesson for the day and planned to continue it the next day at the same time. However, Rakrak's duty as a leader was not finished, because Yor, the dude who is assigned to take care of the Drake, had appeared. And so, Rakrak instantly inquired if he is here because Manun is causing trouble again, to which Yor clarified that it wasn't the case, because even though Manun seems a little dissatisfied, since he has been giving him meals on time, he became more gentle. This was such a great news for Rakrak, as he had one less thing to take care of. However, the guy wasn't here to report just that. He was here to suggest an idea, as he had heard Jael said they need a way to move around without starving. So when he watched him tame Manun with snacks, he suddenly thought of something. If it was possible to tame Manun, it is also possible that they could tame something else. This intrigued Rakrak once more, and so he asks the guy to broaden his explanation and give example, leading him to point at far below, onto the herd of buffalo. And with this, a system interface had popped up, notifying Nebula that Rakrak's tribe had just learned the ability to herd. This made Nebula think about history, and it is said that in human history, splits into two branches at some point, one to do farming, the other is to do pastoralism. Although the source of this information is from the game, he believes that it is illogical to go with this notion, as this reality was from the game he played. But now that it comes into mind, he believes that farming would be more stable. In fact, major civilizations also started with this, but the tribe he chose was the lizardmen, with a strong physique and high environmental adaptability. So what they need more is to be a pastoral society rather than farming. And in this pack, the technology that will give them wings is ironware. Luckily, Rakrak had already approved using tons of wood for the smithy to get into motion, and coupled with the guy's technique, which he crafted for many years, it was just a matter of time and effort that they finally made batches of well-sharpened blades, which Nebula was glad to see. For now, it may be softer than well-processed bronzeware, but for Rakrak's tribe who had no choice but to use stone tools, it will be a great help. Also, he had another unexpected gain. This guy, Wanderer, and his knowledge of astronomy. Of course it is still too primitive to be called astronomy, but in the distant future, he hoped that they put it into good use. And with that, the Wanderer taught Rakrak more about of the stars that they didn't even notice how much time had passed. But because of it, Rakrak had more of an idea of what the stars hold, and he was engrossed with this knowledge that he can't look away and just continue to stare above. But now that his men had gave him so much, it was time for him to do what he can as the leader of the tribe. With this in mind, he had gathered his tribesmen in the center of the sanctuary and give a speech about their current circumstance, and that it has been a long time since God brought them to this land. They even met their brothers again, but they could have kicked them like what they did to them. They could have chosen to live on their own. Then they could have lived for a longer time in this land.
What did he say?
But of course those who were kicked out would have died in the wilderness, and that was wrong, because their God wanted salvation, not exclusion. That is because it benefits more people. This speech of his had moved the hearts of the people, and seeing this effect, Rakrak took this opportunity to tell them what they must do, and that is to leave this place by dawn. This in turn shocked the people, but Rakrak told them not to worry, because they are not going to wander aimlessly like last time, because they have Stargazer. This man has been telling him the movements of the stars for several days, and he had confirmed that what this person said was true, and so he was proud to announce that this man, which he now calls Stargazer, will be their guide. From now on, they will entrust the Stargazer to guide their path. But Rakrak knew that his words would not be enough to convince all of his people, and so he asks Stargazer to explain and demonstrate to everyone where he will be leading them, which Stargazer didn't hesitate to do just that, telling them that after dawn, when the morning sun rises, they will head to the right side of the sun, and they will keep walking for 10 days straight, then another 15 days to the right again along a rotten lake, and 3 days more on a desolate mountain paths and valley paths. After walking like that, they will find their destination, where an endless forest will greet them. There will be many beasts there, and it's an area where there are packs of other races as well. This meant that it is a good area to live in. Now that was cleared up, Rakrak thanked Stargazer for the explanation, and then continued his speech by climbing the altar to make a statement. And now that all their attention was on him, he asked Yor loudly why he didn't eat any water buffalo they caught yesterday. And this was so sudden that Yor was so caught off guard that he doesn't know how to respond. But seeing Rakrak just stand there on the altar, menacingly, he knew that he should take this question as serious as possible. And if he lied right now, it would be the end of him. And so even though he was nervous, he used his trembling voice to answer Rakrak's inquiry as truthful as possible. Explaining why he didn't eat a boar yesterday was because he wasn't hungry, leading Rakrak to point out that everyone worked hard to catch that water buffalo, and yet he didn't eat any, which in turn made Yor more nervous from before. But he knew that if he doesn't say anything now, the others will think that he did this to disrespect them, and so he gathered all his courage to clarify that he acknowledged that everyone worked hard, but he just wasn't particularly hungry, and he was thinking that if he holds back now, then maybe later he could eat it when he is really hungry. And this is just what Rakrak wanted to hear, and so he praised Yor for a job well done. This in turn shocked everyone. Even Yor couldn't comprehend what just happened. He thought he was getting grilled, but it turns out he was doing good. And seeing their confused faces, Rakrak explained why he just complimented him, and that he appreciated his action because he was thinking of the future. And this was an excellent mindset to have, so he asks Yor again if this will continue to be the case, which Yor gladly responded that it is. And as long as he doesn't starve, he would continue to do that. And with that, Rakrak decided to compensate him with the spear they just made, shocking everyone yet again. But even before they could respond, the spear was immediately handed to Yor, which in turn made his eyes widen with awe as the spear shines, a testament of how well crafted it was. But another revelation had surprised them yet again, because those who followed Yor's words, and those who resisted their desire to eat what they wanted, were also worthy to be given a spear. This really made the group happy, and looking at how awesome they look with the spear, the others were starting to contemplate on following what Yor had just done. While Jaol, on the other hand, was relieved to see that this was what Rakrak decided, setting an example for their people to follow. But to her surprise, Rakrak wasn't done, as he then took a skull from the altar to wear it, and asks for Yor and his men to come forward one by one, as he was about to hold a knighting ceremony for them to officially be the warrior of their tribe. And with that, Yor, the bone warrior, had been born, and this is the god's will. So Rakrak told him that he should stand proud, which he was, seeing that he can't even contain his tears from coming out. A few moments later, the dawn had arrived, and since they were all set and ready, Rakrak announced for them to depart this holy place, and he assured them not to worry, since their god's will is with them. That's why they are not bound to a place anymore. And so everyone should carve the nameless beetle god into their heads. And remember that even though their path will be full of challenges, they have to move forward without fear. Just as they endured the desire to eat the water buffalo, if they endure and move forward, they will prosper, and it will benefit everyone. And they shouldn't worry because their god will always be with them. And with Rakrak's speech, everyone's heart was moved, and so they were more eager to leave this place with hope of a promised land ahead. Meanwhile, Rakrak just took a deep breath, as he asked his god to forgive him for using his name to convince his people to leave this place. But Nebula believes that there was no need for him to apologize, as he understood very well his intentions. And if Rakrak didn't do that, he wouldn't have chosen him as a priest in the first place. Rather, he was more than glad of what Rakrak had done, as he even achieved the growth of another entity, leveling your attributes significantly. And also even Rakrak's special abilities finally saw light, as it further improved in one night. And with how Rakrak have done well so far and have not disappointed his expectations, Nebula was convinced that from now on, Rakrak will be a full-fledged start for his godhood. A few days later, the group was still traversing the wilderness, but because of the heat, Manun collapsed on the spot, so Rakrak immediately went to check up on it. But it seemed like Manun just exhausted itself, so he asked Stargazer if it was possible for them to take a rest, which Stargazer approved since it can't be helped. With this, he signaled to everyone to take a short break, which the warriors pass on the message to others. But as they rest, Rakrak overheard countless of concerns from his tribesmen, one such doubting if they could even go to the promised place he so proclaimed. They even doubt if taking a rest would gain back their strength, as they were all exhausted, and they even barely ate anything, making things much worse. But Rakrak understood all of this, since they have been in the wilderness for 3 days now, and because of it, the whole group is very tired, and they are running out of food. With such circumstance, they can only hope for another miracle to happen. But it seems like he doesn't have to wait for long, as one of his warriors hurriedly approached him to notify him that a flock had appeared ahead of them, and they are scaleless bastards.
Hit that like button and thanks for watching.